people like me. You need people like me so you can point your f***ing fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
Welcome to the motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. It appears the rumors were true. Otto Wallin versus Murat Gassiev has been finalized for September 30th in Antalya, Turkey.
Is that how you say that?
That's how I said it.
It ain't smoked turkey, that's for sure.
Otto Wallin finally found another credible heavyweight willing to fight him. The Swedish southpaw told BoxingScene.com on Friday that he will face former unified cruiserweight champion Murat Gassiev later on this month on the 30th in Turkey. Their 12-round fight for a WBA regional title will take place at the Regnum Karia Hotel. Organizers of the Gassiev-Wallin fight were working at the same time this story was posted to secure a broadcast or streaming partner in the United States.
Otto Wallin acquitted himself well against Tyson Fury. Perhaps too well, because since then, he hasn't been in the spotlight. He hasn't been at the forefront.
He hasn't been in a big fight since that fight. Perhaps it's because he gave such a good account of himself, and he is a southpaw, he is adaptable, while most will remember him for his aggressive performance against Tyson Fury more often than not. Otto Wallin is the boxer, not the brawler, not the puncher.
Which makes him an even bigger hot potato. A southpaw that wants to move and punch?
His fight against Gassiev will be the most significant action for the 32-year-old Wallin since his October 2021 bout against Dillian Whyte was cancelled on 10 days' notice because Whyte reportedly suffered a shoulder injury. Whyte versus Wallin was never rescheduled because Whyte was the WBC's mandatory challenger and instead fought unbeaten champion Tyson Fury, who stopped Whyte in the 6th round of an event that drew a record crowd of 94,000 to London's Wembley Stadium in April of 2022. I feel great that I've got this fight coming up, Wallin said. The last couple of years have been tough with no significant fights, but finally, I have a big opportunity and I'm ready to take it with both hands.
All right.
My training has been going really well and I'm excited to go out to Turkey and handle business. Turkey would be a more neutral ground.
It would.
For Otto Wallin, for Murat Gassiev, Wallin of Sweden, and Murat Gassiev of Russia, where he's been fighting.
He's not with Abel Sanchez anymore. He used to train out at Big Bear Lake with Abel Sanchez. I think they parted ways after the lopsided defeat to Alexander Usyk.
He's been fighting primarily out of Russia ever since, though Murat Gassiev, as far as fighting, he hasn't been fighting all that much.
No, not really.
Not since having suffered that loss to Usyk at cruiserweight in what was the final stage of the World Boxing Super Series.
In his most recent action, the 29-year-old Gassiev knocked out previously unbeaten American Mike Balogun in the second round, March 3rd, at the Karen Demirchian Sports Complex in Yerevan, Armenia.
It's not just the most significant fight that Otto Wallin will have had in a while, it's also the most significant fight Murat Gassiev will have had in a while.
Murat Gassiev, who sports a professional record of 30 wins with 1 loss, no draws, 23 knockouts, having never been knocked out in 31 professional bouts.
And a fighter who, in the last 4 going on 5 years, 4 going on 5, has only fought 4 times. After losing to Alexander Usyk in July of 2018, he sat out all of 2019, didn't come back until October of the following year in 2020. He only boxed once that year, only boxed once the following year in 2021.
Only once again the following year in 2022, and he's already seen action at least once this year, in 2023, back in March.
This year marks the first year that Murat Gassiev will have boxed more than just once a year since 2018. He boxed 2 times in 2018.
It's the last time that he boxed 2 times in the same calendar year.
Coming off 4 consecutive victories, 4 consecutive knockout victories, it does seem like Murat Gassiev's punching power, his trademark punching power, has come up with him to the heavyweight division, though a fight with Otto Wallin is a stiffer test and a stiffer assignment than any assignment he's faced so far since moving up.
I envision this fight is going to look a lot like the Michael Walisz fight. Michael Walisz, a very tall, lanky heavyweight.
Guy that likes to move and punch like Otto Wallin likes to move and punch. Though we can say that Otto Wallin is a fresher fighter than Michael Walisz was when Murat Gassiev fought him. Otto Wallin, who was last in action earlier this year in January opposite the ring Helaman Olguin.
Who comparatively has been a little bit more active, a little bit more busy.
Busier than Murat Gassiev. Otto Wallin fought 2 times in 2019, once in 2020, then again in 2021, boxed 2 times last year, and he's already seen action once this year. So he ain't got no ring rust to shake off, and he's kept a busier schedule the last 3 or 4 years than Murat Gassiev.
Sporting a professional record of 25 wins with 1 loss, no draws, 14 knockouts, having never been knocked out in 26 professional bouts.
32 years old, approximately 3 years older than Murat Gassiev, though Otto, he really doesn't look it, and he takes care of himself.
The Swedish-born, New York-based pugilist.
I mean, the obvious virtue of taking on Otto Wallin, potentially beating Otto Wallin, and potentially beating him by way of knockout, is you get to do what Tyson Fury couldn't do. Tyson Fury beat him, he rallied back in their fight and beat him, but he couldn't stop him.
Nobody has.
There's a first time for everything, that's what they say. And given that Murat Gassiev is a mid-range to inside fighter, he's a close quarters fighter, and he's a pressure fighter, I anticipate that the aesthetic of this match may look a lot like the aesthetic of the Michael Walisz fight.
Because Michael tried to use his legs, Michael tried to move and punch, and eventually Murat Gassiev got to him, knocked him out.
Otto Wallin has more of a penchant towards moving and punching than brawling and banging.
As stated, most people are going to remember Otto Wallin from the Tyson Fury fight, but the way that he fought in that fight isn't how he normally fights. He's not normally that come forward, not normally that aggressive, rough and rugged.
And I don't think that's the fight that he's going to fight against Murat Gassiev, because if he does, he'd be giving Murat what he wants. Murat spends the entirety of a fight trying to keep on and keep up with the man opposite the ring so he can get inside and deliver hard shots, knockout punches. It behooves Otto to beat those feet, use those legs, and move around.
Don't sell out and don't give him what he wants. If you do that, you're doing half the work for him.
So no, I don't think he's going to fight Murat Gassiev the same way that he fought Tyson Fury. They are 2 very different fighters with 2 very different builds. Murat's not on the bigger end of the spectrum as far as heavyweights go. He may have heavyweight power, but he's actually a smaller heavyweight.
By today's standards, he is.
Standing in at 6'3", he is a shorter, stumpier, stockier fighter than Otto Wallin. Otto Wallin, he will go into this fight with a height advantage.
Fight Otto's got to fight is akin to the fight that Anthony Joshua fought in the second Andy Ruiz fight. An outside fight, moving and punching and staying behind the jab, staying behind straight shots. For Murat, it's the opposite.
He's got to get in close, and he's got to do damage. He's got to keep the pressure on Otto to, at minimum, outwork the guy if he can't stop him.
It's a fascinating fight and a fascinating contrast of styles, the boxer versus the puncher, and we'll talk more about the fight as the fight date approaches.
How important is it to have a relationship with these guys in Saudi Arabia as well?
Yeah, they're real. I mean, they're really, you're talking about the future. I mean, these people are going to be big players in entertainment and sports, and to be part of it for us is just really great. It's really very important.
With these guys in Saudi Arabia, at some point next year, we get Fury Usyk?
Absolutely. I mean, now that we're involved with these people who are real and want to do great things, there's no reason not to get that fight done.
Yeah, that might seem like a ray of hope, optimism, wide-eyed optimism from Bob Arum. But things are looking less than optimistic for Fury versus Usyk based on statements that Fury made.
Fury's singing the same tune. He don't care about the Usyk fight. I don't think he's ever cared about that fight. I don't think it's ever been his intention to have that fight. He's been pouring cold water on it for years.
No, it didn't start immediately after Usyk beat Joshua and took his belts. Before that, I remember Tyson Fury was asked about fighting Alexander Usyk, and he said he's not fighting a foreigner.
I think it was an IFL TV interview.
Something along the lines of heavyweight boxing, all the money in heavyweight boxing being divided between the United Kingdom and the United States, and that Usyk is just some foreigner, which is strange, coming from Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury, the gypsy. Tyson Fury, the Traveler.
Wasn't he the one carrying on about how travelers are persecuted based on their ethnic background? He was discriminating against Usyk.
Keeps calling him a foreigner.
Based on his ethnic background. That was many years ago, maybe 2 or 3.
You find yourself wondering what the relevance of those statements was all those years ago. How is that relevant here today? Here's what Tyson Fury is saying here today.
As much money as possible. That's what I said to my lawyer. I didn't come back this time for belts or titles or anything. I come back to secure my family and their kids and their grandkids, and I've done it.
Says he didn't come back for belts. He came back for money. This from the guy who used to say that he doesn't care about money.
This from the guy who used to say that he's a Spartan, not a businessman.
That's not bad enough for you. If that's not enough to convince you that fighting Alexander Usyk is not a priority to Tyson Fury, get a whiff.
Of them, a lot of bitches. AJ, Usyk, Wilder, Ruiz. I class them as little bitches now. You know, they've all had the opportunity to fight the GK and all turned it down for whatever reason, so good luck to them. Now they're in the past. They're all in the past. I'm looking forward to bigger, better things. Yeah, I'd like to fight John Jones next, yeah.
So where does the undisputed fight sit then? Is it not priority anymore, given what it took to kind of...
Has it ever been my priority? Did I ever say I wanted undisputed? It's always been some other little bitch's dream, hasn't it? Undisputed, road to undisputed. Listen, I got Francis Ngannou to deal with, and should the other little sausage want to fight for the undisputed, then, you know, if he takes a small percentage, then we might make it happen. But if he wants a large bag, then I'm going to say, no thank you.
Do you need more evidence than that?
More evidence that fighting for undisputed is not and was not Tyson Fury's priority. Are you listening to what he's saying? Percentages. What's all this about percentages?
That's not the way the deals are structured with the Saudis.
It isn't. They don't do the whole thing about percentages and what percentage of the pot he gets and what percentage of the pot you get. They do the deals with the fighters separately.
This whole bit about percentages from Fury is little more than a smokescreen. Another excuse to get out of fighting Usyk because he's never wanted that fight. He still doesn't want that fight.
Where Bob Arum feels that because now him and Frank are in bed with the Saudis, there's no reason the Usyk fight shouldn't happen. That's not what Tyson Fury's saying. And Bob and Frank aren't the ones that have to agree to fight Usyk. Fury's got to agree to fight Usyk, and you hear him.
You see him.
Look at the condition he's in. Look at the state of Tyson Fury.
Looks bigger and fatter and flabbier than he normally looks. How hard do you think he's trained to box a guy that never boxed before?
I wonder if Michelle Joy Phelps didn't have to fight back the urge to vomit as Tyson Fury tried his best to disguise his current endeavor into the world of circus fights and novelty acts behind the guise of it's everyone else's fault. It's AJ's fault and Ruiz's fault and Usyk's fault.
Oh, that's why you're boxing a guy that never boxed before.
Because the heavyweight division only consists of 3 fighters? Is that the story? Is that what you're telling people?
I told you.
I told you that I think Tyson Fury is all but done in the world of competitive pugilism, and that's what the Francis Ngannou fight might herald, because you don't go from making boatloads of cash for an easy day at the office back into the fire.
The line of fire.
Look at the condition of Tyson Fury. Do you think he's training seriously the way he would for a serious pugilist, a serious boxer? Do you think that's what he's been doing?
This is easy money for him.
You heard what he said. It's not me connecting dots. It's not me paraphrasing. He's not back for belts, and the Usyk fight is not a priority. That's what he said.
Undisputed is not a priority, and according to Fury, it was never his priority. It was someone else's.
He wants to fight John Bones Jones in another crossover fight after this fight because I think this guy is done with competitive pugilism. Boxing against real boxers. Why do that when you can make boatloads of cash in circus fights and novelty acts, so long as the Saudis are willing to pay you?
He's doing what his cousin Tommy is doing.
Biggest show they've ever done in the UK since it started, Netflix. Beat that! TV Gold, Hollywood next. I've got a couple of goals. I've got one goal is going to beat this and become the baddest man on the planet. Yeah. Second goal is I'm going to top the Forbes list this year on the richest athlete this year. And the third list is a Hollywood movie. Done.
Who's going to play you?
Denzel Washington. I've told you all along.
The only man that can play Tyson
The only
Fury?
man who can play Tyson is Denzel. And he knows it.
Tyson Fury, being as folksy as he is, having a silver tongue, and just having a silver tongue in a very general sense in the sport of boxing, it's nice, it helps.
Yeah.
It helps to sell fights, but it's the fights we're here for. It's the fights primarily that the fans want. And what the fans want, at least in boxing, is Fury versus Usyk, not Fury versus some dancing bear from another sport.
He's doing it for the money.
That bit of it is obvious. What's not obvious is that a bigger draw, an even bigger, better draw, a bigger and better businessman than Tyson Fury, he hasn't resorted to fighting MMA fighters to get his paydays, and that man is Canelo Alvarez. He's still fighting real fighters in what are real fights.
He's the draw.
That's Fury's problem. He's not as big a draw as they would have you believe. He can't get out there with an Arslanbek Makhmudov or a Martin Bakole and shatter records and things like that. He could do good business, but not great business. He wouldn't make boxing Martin Bakole what he stands to make from this circus fight.
And it's riskier. You think he wants a real fight?
Is that why he's boxing a guy that never boxed before? Alexander Usyk's manager brutally put down Tyson Fury with his Netflix star claim.
It was a little over a week ago.
And everything you hear Tyson Fury saying here and now about Hollywood and Netflix and boxing MMA fighters services as confirmation of what Sergey Lapine said over a week ago. Sergey Lapine is eager for his man, Alexander Usyk, to step into the ring with Fury so boxing can have an undisputed heavyweight champion. But it's clear he has doubts about the contest happening. Usyk retained his heavyweight belts.
He beat Daniel Dubois with a 9th round stoppage.
No, Fury has a lot of rancor towards Alexander Usyk. I think more rancor than he has for Wilder or Anthony Joshua or anyone else, because it was Usyk more than anyone else who brought to light what a big fat fucking fraud Tyson Fury is.
He was riding high up until Usyk came along.
Usyk is the best of this generation and is willing to prove it. Talks are open again about fighting in Saudi in January, but when Fury is involved, don't bet your life savings on it happening.
I don't. I won't. I told you. I'm not confident this fight ever takes place. I'm not confident that after this guy makes a boatload of cash with Ngannou, he'll be willing to step back into the fire.
That's not what his character has shown, and that doesn't seem to be the way that Tyson Fury's mind works. And if nothing else, listen to his own comments, listen to his own statements, and make the retrospect between what he says and what he actually does.
What's likely to happen?
I don't see any reason for a boxing fan,
Boxing!
a fan of the sport, who takes in the sport and wants to see the best fighters fight the best fighters. I can't think of a logical reason for a boxing fan to still be a fan of Tyson Fury. You're not going to get what you want.
If what you want is for Fury to fight Usyk, if what you want to see is an undisputed title fight,
You may not see it, you may not get it.
which brings us to the crescendo of this conversation. It was Michael Hunter who classified Tyson Fury as a selfish clown who's holding the belt.
If he would give up that belt, he could go fuck off into the sunset and fight in as many circus fights as he wants. But because he still has that belt, he won't give it up.
And don't expect the WBC to hold his feet to the fire. They love him.
If he didn't have that belt, if he still didn't have it, I wouldn't care. I wouldn't even talk about the guy.
He's using that belt to stay relevant in the sport so that he can transition onto other things outside the sport.
If he's not, you tell me why he's still holding on to it.